I want to welcome everybody to the Alvin Day of Resistance and the 10th annual Alvin Tea Party. My name is Stan Dillman. I'm one of the original founders of the Alvin Tea Party. Everybody here. We're going to get this straight here in a second. Bear with us. Can y'all hear me now? I feel like I'm making. Shall we try this again? We started this group 5 years ago. We didn't think we'd still be here 5 years later, but we are. And we also joined the Day of Resistance with this, and so I want to welcome everybody here for their Second Amendment rights. So to get us started, we're going to start off with our Pledge of Allegiance and our Pledge to Texas. We have candidates for the Alvin Community College Board of Regents, Patton Ritter. He's going to lead us in both pledges.
All right, thank you all for coming out. Please join me in the pledge to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now please join me in the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Patton. He again is running for Alvin Community Board of Regents. I'd like to invite at this time Miss Sue Stringer. She's running for Alvin ISD, position 6.
This one? Okay, please pray with me. Stand as you can. Your hat. Father, we, the people of the United States of America, together in prayer for our nation today. We recognize you as the source of our liberty. The men and women standing here today are free people, rights granted by you, Lord. Father, you courage you gave to the founding fathers of this great nation to establish a land where your principles and your laws would guide us. May we rediscover the sacred flame of our national heritage, which so many have given their lives to safeguard. Today we ask your blessing on the men and women in our armed forces. Lord, we are so grateful for their service so that we may live in a free nation and are able to openly gather here today. We ask that you would place a hedge of protection around them and their families. We honor too our veterans. Bless them abundantly for the hardships they face, for the sacrifices they made, for their many different contributions to America's victories over tyranny and oppression. Today we pray for those who are in leadership positions in our nation, on a national level, on a state level, to those who serve here locally and those yet to answer the call to serve. Lord, we especially ask your blessing on our gathering here today. Help us to stay focused on our mission, to help others see the biblical case for defense of self and neighbors, and to realize that to willfully disarm is to worship another God. You have called us to defend our families and our neighbors, the widows and the poor and the children. Help us and strengthen our hands to do so in these dark times. Protect and aid us from the wicked who seem to disarm and kill us. Help us, Lord, with our message that a people who willfully disarm themselves or try to disarm others are worshiping a God that is not the God of the Bible. We pray and ask these things in the name of the way, the truth, and the life, your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
At this time, I want to give us a couple special announcements, and then I'll turn it over to my good friend Paul Johnson. Now I'm on a leash. Can't go too far. Right now, I would like to give a special thank you to the people across the street at Stanton's grocery store. This is their parking lot that they have loaned to us, so we want to make sure that we leave it better than what we found it. So please go over and see the Stantons, buy lots of good stuff. They've got a great meat market over there. They've got a hardware store, so go support them because they're supporting us. Also, I'd like to thank a couple other sponsors who donated ammunition to our raffle. We're going to be raffling off ammunition between every speaker. So y'all make sure that you go and buy some raffle tickets from that good-looking man over there. His name's Henry, and he's got them for sale for one for $10 or 3 for $25. Our big raffle is going to be a shotgun. Open Carry Texas is also donating a couple hats and a t-shirt too. At this time, I'd like to also recognize some of our elected officials that have joined us here in support of the Alvin Tea Party. First off, I would like to recognize Jerry Bentley. She is with the League City City Council. Miss Bentley, where are you? There she is, way over there. We also have Miss Heidi Thiess. She is also on the League City Council Board. Heidi, wave your hands. She's the one with the big gun. We also have Patton Ritter here, who is a candidate for the Alvin Community County Board of Regents, Alvin Community College. Where is Patton? I see him somewhere. There he is. Yeah. We also have Miss Sue Stringer. She is with the Alvin ISD Position 6, candidate and current trustee. If y'all live here in Alvin, these are two candidates you need to make sure you vote for. We also have Miss Tanya Roberts, who is a candidate for SREC, Committee Woman, Senatorial District number 11. She's over here in the pretty pink shirt. Kind of looks like the one I'm wearing. Again, make sure you visit the Alvin store back here. We've got lots of goodies for sale. Miss Deborah Rosenthal Ritter is running our store back there. Deborah, raise your hand. Also, I want to give a special thank you to all of my Alvin Tea Party supporters out here. Thanks for coming out and working with us, and thanks for being part of the Tea Party. At this time, I am going to turn my job over to my MC, Mr. Paul Johnson.
Well, good afternoon, folks. Thanks again for coming out. I got to say again, we need to show a lot of thanks and gratitude to the Stantons for allowing us to use the parking lot. They're letting us use the space for free, and they haven't asked too much of us. So please go check out their store if you're not from Alvin. They've got a deli in there, full grocery store, hardware store, meat processing plant. They've got all kinds of specialty meats. And they've been a family-owned business for over 90 years, and they're definitely. I just talked to Mr. Stanton a few minutes ago, and he was glad to. I was thanking him, and he was saying that he was glad to help out because he knows this is a worthy cause. All right, and we're going to get into our speakers. Our first speaker. I'm having a little technical difficulty with my clipboard. Our first speaker, Heidi Thiess, comes from a proud tradition of military service in her family, and she's the first female member of her family to serve in uniform. Heidi enlisted in the U.S. Army as a 17-year-old freshman in college. She served simultaneously in the U.S. Army Reserves and ROTC until her graduation. She graduated with a BA degree in International Affairs, a specialty in Soviet politics, and a minor in military science. As a second lieutenant, she earned her wings at airborne school before serving the remainder of her active duty service overseas in Germany. Today, Heidi is a wife of 20 years to Andrew, who's also a former Army officer. and the mother of 2 children. Jonathan is a second-year cadet at West Point, and Eden is a freshman in high school. Heidi was elected as a city council member in League City in 2012. She serves on the executive board of the Clear Lake Tea Party and is a broadcast activist on the internet radio station RagingElePhantsRadio.com. I've been listening to Raging Elephants. I've been listening to Raging Elephants for about a month. One of our guys here, Nathan, told me about it, and my mind has been blown with all the real news that comes through when you get away from the on-air networks. She is also a Texas border volunteer and a firearms dealer for her own company, Pretty Guns. Heidi's personal motto is Texas first, Texas strong, Texas free. And as old Doc Green says on the intro to her every day, she might be cute, but she can shoot. I forgot to mention we're having a silent auction back there today. We've got a 20-gauge pump shotgun, brand new in the box. We've got a plethora of boxes of ammo, with more being added by the hour. Some of the examples of the rounds of the ammunition boxes we've got are 300-round boxes of 22 caliber, 22 long rifle. We've got 400 rounds of +9 German 9mm. We've got a couple of boxes of 50-round each of Willow 45 Auto, 230 grain full metal jacket in an ammo can. We've got 2 boxes of, I guess that's 100 rounds. I don't know if that's 100 rounds each of Federal 45, 230 grain. And we've got 1 box of 325 rounds of Federal 22 long rifle. More are being added. And Heidi's just informed me that we've also got 1,000 rounds of 22 that she's drawing. And we'll be drawing ongoing throughout the afternoon. And so make sure to pick up the raffle tickets. The raffles are, the tickets are 1 for $10 or 3 for $25. Also, we have a Texas Border Volunteers presentation coming up on Thursday, April 24th. Heidi Thiess here will be one of our speakers, along with Nick Wade of the Lake Jackson Tea Party, Mary Holmes of the Clear Lake Tea Party, and Dale Holmes of the Clear Lake Tea Party. The mission of the Texas Border Volunteers is assisting law enforcement officials with securing the border, upholding the rule of law, and educating the general public with regard to immigration issues and securing the border from illegal immigration, and providing educational materials and activities aimed at informing the general public about immigration issues. And now I'll shut up and let Ms. Heidi take the podium.
Okay, I've got a favor to ask. If you are not actually manning a table, can you move in a little bit closer? Because it's lonely up here, y'all. Come on. I am not getting up there. You want me? He's here for me. Come on in a little bit closer. Because I'm tethered, and normally I like to get as close to the audience as possible. And because I'm tethered to this, I'm asking y'all to come up a little bit closer.
A little bit too close, I can't see. Yeah, I'm going to have to.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, hopefully this works.
There you go.
If you're up there, you should be good with the wireless.
Seriously?
No mic stand either.
Hey!
Damn it, Pedro. I didn't help holding it. I wasn't paying attention while I was holding it.
No, can y'all hear me?
No! Your audio, hey.
It's still cutting out.
Nice working, Heidi.
All right.
It's working.
You look great.
Woo! Come on in, folks. Don't make out. No more. I can multitask. Folks, I want to get it just a couple of. It is breaking up, isn't it? We're flexible.
I need to get.
We're in the field.
I get so hungry
Yeah.
late in the day.
Oh.
Yeah, I have no idea how many to drink. I just drink like 3 different juices a day. That's like 6 servings.
Yeah.
I can't find
Audio check 1, 2.
where it's
the audio up a little bit.
Absolutely.
That should. Thank you. Okay, good. If I'm going to be tethered and I'm going to be in the back of a pickup truck, I want everybody as close as possible. Well, welcome to the Day of Resistance. You are 3%ers showing up today. I want to get a couple of announcements out of the way first. The first is that on Monday, you may not have heard of it, but there is a hearing going on in the Senate, Texas, in Austin, Monday at 8:30 a.m. We're going to get a few people there. CJ, are you going to be there? Where's CJ? Yeah, CJ will be there. I'll be there. I know Mary Hulse is going to be there. Guys, this is really critically important because we had 5 major open carry, constitutional carry, Second Amendment issues in Austin that failed in the last legislative session. So it's really important that we get started early. They try and have these Senate hearings or House hearings kind of out of the way when nobody's really paying attention. So we're going to make sure that we go and that they're paying attention. The other announcement I wanted to make is that on Tuesday, April 15th, the Clear Lake Tea Party is celebrating their 5-year birthday party. And if you are in a Tri-County area, Brazoria, Galveston, or South Harris County, you are invited. Come on over to La Brisa in League City. We're going to eat Mexican, we're going to drink margaritas, have some beer. Well, if you do. And we're going to celebrate. Happy birthday. We are also going to have an open mic, which means if you've not been heard, you need to grab a mic and get yourself heard. Open mic means you can rant for 2 minutes about whatever you want. That is Tuesday, April 15th. Come and celebrate the birthday party for Clear Lake Tea Party. Now, let's get down to business because you're all here because the Second Amendment is important to you. Let me qualify that by saying that the 23rd section of Article 1 of the Texas State Constitution is important to you, and that's why you're here today, to show you're basically boots on the ground. I always tell my listeners on the radio, you don't count if you don't show up. So you guys are counted today because you're here and you're boots on the ground. If you are not aware, about a year ago, in February, League City, Texas, passed a resolution to protect the Second Amendment from any executive orders, from any federal or national action in League City, in the jurisdiction that we had. That Second Amendment resolution was so important because our state representatives were not doing their job. Now, I want you to think of the timing of this. The timing was before they came up for a vote in Austin. The timing was they had all of these plans to pass resolutions and legislation in Austin that would protect your rights to carry, would institute campus carry, and protect the rights, our interstate rights, to manufacture and sell arms within the state of Texas without federal interference. At the time that we passed that resolution in League City, everybody had rose-colored glasses on, thinking that, well, the state will take care of business. The state of Texas did not. And once again, your state legislature fell down on the job. So if you're looking to Austin for help, you need to look local. Now, there's 3 areas, 3 fronts in this war. There's 3 fronts in this battle for your natural right to keep and bear arms. Your natural right, which is guaranteed in both constitutions, to defend yourself, not for hunting. This isn't about hunting. This is not for hunters to own the kind of shotguns or rifles that they want. This is about your right as a law-abiding citizen to protect yourself, and not necessarily against the criminals on the streets, but against the criminals in our government. That's what your Second Amendment is for. It's to protect you against a government out of control. It is so that the government fears the people. What is the saying? When the government fears the people, there is liberty. But when the people fear their government, there is tyranny. It's gotten to the point now where our government does not fear the people, and they're doing everything they can at multiple layers of government to restrict or remove your right to defend yourself. Now, we've got 3 different levels, I said. At the national level, you've got your Congress and your senator, your congressmen and your senators are dithering and haggling over the Second Amendment and restrictions. You've got your, I would say, questionably elected president who is issuing edicts and orders from the executive office, his executive orders of, and executive actions. But then your state is where I want to focus your attention today. Did you know that Section 23 of Article 1 says that the legislature shall have power by law to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime? That's in your Texas state constitution. Let me read that last part again. With a view to prevent crime. You know what's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt? Scientifically, societally, politically, any which way, what has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt is restricting the rights of law-abiding citizens does not prevent crime. What it does do is encourage crime by those in elected office. They have no fear. They have the run of the place. So your Texas state constitution needs some attention. And when you've got legislators, when you continuously elect legislators who say that they support the Second Amendment, you need to drill down and ask, what does that mean? What do you mean you support it? If there's an R after their name, they have to by virtue of the Republican platform. It's part of the Republican. Did you know that open carry was part of the Republican platform? And who cares if they don't enforce it? Who cares if they don't support their own platform? So don't look to your party and don't look to a politician. Instead, you need to be looking to take action in Austin, and you will have that chance coming up in the next legislative session. I'm gonna just go over a few bills really quick. They told me to come up here and throw red meat. I can't help it. I have to tell you what's coming up around the corner. All right, in 2013, y'all, we had a chance to pass open carry. HB 700 was an open carry bill. It would remove the requirement for CHL holders to conceal. HB 700 died in Pickett's committee because Pickett never brought it up. This Joe Pickett never brought it up for a vote. That's why it's called the picket fence, for a reason.
He said he would.
And we knew he would. Now, the reason that that's significant is because Pickett is assigned to chair that committee by Joe Strauss. That's why your your input on Speaker of the House is so crucial. How about campus carry? By default, carry of a handgun by CHL holders would be allowed in all colleges and universities, with private institutions able to opt out, should they so choose. That was SB 182. That died in a senatorial committee under the guise of Senator Whitmire because he never brought the bill forward. How about the removal of gun-free zones? Guys, this is right on the heels of another shooting at Fort Hood. A gun-free zone for those who are trained to protect themselves and others, who are trained to protect you. They're not even allowed to protect themselves. We had an opportunity here in Texas to remove gun-free zones. That died behind the picket fence, again in Pickett's committee. How about come and take it? Constitutional firearms protection. That would instruct our state personnel and resources could not be used to enforce federal gun grab laws that the state law doesn't already have in place. That was HB 928. It made it through Brandon Creighton's House Committee, passed a vote on the House floor, and then died in the graveyard of all good conservative legislation in the Senate. Lastly, intrastate manufacture. Firearms manufactured and sold in Texas should not be subject to federal regulations. That's based on the Commerce Clause that authorizes congressional regulation over interstate commerce only. HB 627, again, made it through Creighton's committee in the House, and then died in calendars under Todd Hunter. That's why I now want to focus your attention on 2015. These same legislators, with some new faces, are going to have an opportunity because every single one of these bills will be coming up again. Your option is to contact, do you guys know who your state rep is? Who's your state rep? Ed Thompson. Who's your state senator? Your state senator. Ted Cruz does not count in this battle. Ted Cruz does not count. Nobody who goes to Washington counts in this battle. Larry Taylor is my state senator. Who's yours? Okay, Larry Taylor is yours too?
Don't count mine. Don't count mine, it's Nichols.
Who's yours?
Don't count mine, it's Nichols.
Who?
Nichols.
Oh, Nichols, yeah. All right, guys, so you've got your work cut out for you. However, you do have an option locally, and that is to pass a similar resolution to what we did in League City. What that does is that demands that your city council lives up to its own oath to protect, preserve, and defend the U.S. Constitution and the Texas State Constitution. Did you know that they swore such an oath? Did you know that?
Yep.
Did you know that they need to be making decisions on this issue, which they'll try and duck because they'll say, oh, that's above our pay grade. We'll leave that to Senator Cruz. Senator Cruz can't help you. Not on this issue. This is something that you need to handle locally, and you know what? You already are. You're going to be handling it in questions of armed marshals in your schools, where your children and grandchildren go to school, which is legal now, by the way, and they've started to train their first marshals for the schools. You're going to be handling it in your grocery stores, in your city hall, in your places of business, and the tragedies that happen in areas that are not protected, that where the people don't take responsibility for protecting themselves, those tragedies happen locally as well. So you have an opportunity to present a Second Amendment resolution to your city council, and with enough, yeah, Alvin has one, by the way. Alvin does have one. Lake Jackson does not. Lake Jackson didn't get theirs passed. Pearland passed theirs with some caveats, but it's happened all over Texas. So folks, I really encourage you to look to your local elected officials. That's where you can get a lot more done. Can you do anything about John Cornyn? Can you do anything about Barack Obama? Can you do something about Joe Blow down the street right here in your city council? You know where he lives. You know where he shops. You know where he pumps gas. Go and get this job done locally, because if we can't get it done locally, there's not going to be any hope for us to do anything outside of our sphere of influence. I want to read to you something that Patrick Henry, you know Patrick Henry, right? Give me liberty or give me death fame. From that same speech, I want to read you something. He says, guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone who approaches that jewel. That's your politicians. He's talking about your politicians. Unfortunately, folks, listen. Nothing will preserve your liberty but downright force. Whenever you give up that force, you are inevitably ruined. I didn't say that's pretty radical. Do you think that's extremist? Do you think Patrick Henry is extremist? Those words of liberty? Folks, I resist. I resist any attempt at the national level or the state level to restrict my right to defend myself. You're here because you resist too. I call upon my fellow citizens to know your constitutional right. Actually, I'm going to say this one way. To know your natural right. Not granted to you by the Constitution, but protected and guaranteed in both the Texas State Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. The authority for you and your natural rights to protect yourself is undeniable. It is sufficient, that and that alone is sufficient to nullify any attempt by any level of government to infringe on your rights. I want you to read just one last thing. This is a resolution that I'm really hoping will pass in the Republican Party convention. The state convention is coming up this June. I recognize that the unalienable right of Texans to defend themselves, and I acknowledge the principles this nation was founded upon, do not allow that right to be infringed by government. I call upon the Texas legislature to implement constitutional carry, open carry, campus carry, and other provisions removing restrictions on individuals' right to own and bear arms. Texas lags significantly behind such states as Arizona and Montana in respecting the rights of individuals to own and bear arms. We remain only one of 6 states that do not allow any form of open carry of handguns. Did you know that, Texans? Did you know that Texas is lagging? Did you know that Texas is not leading on these issues? This battle has to be fought and won in Texas. The history of mass shootings in this state and country have made it abundantly clear that prohibiting law-abiding citizens from bearing arms does nothing to prevent crime, but only encourages violent criminals to commit their crimes in gun-free zones. Be it resolved that we call upon the upcoming 84th Texas legislature to propose to the people of Texas, listen, a constitutional amendment, a meaningful one, that will strike. Remember what I read to you at the very beginning. Remember what I read to you at the very beginning. We'll strike this phrase from our Constitution. The law power by law to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. I read that at the very beginning, and I'm closing with that. Be it resolved that we call upon the 84th Texas legislature to propose that we strike that language from Article 1, Section 23 of the Texas Constitution. You guys, resistance means more than talk. It means more than Facebook. It means more than a slogan, and it means more than t-shirts. You guys have taken action. Your boots on the ground today. I encourage you, I exhort you, I plead with you, and I demand that you follow through with those critters that you send to Austin every other year. They must do your bidding or be fired. It's not enough that they have an R after their name. They can tell you all day long that they support your right to keep and bear arms. But if they do nothing, we end up with exactly the same situation we have now, with 5 bills that can't make it through a legislature that has a majority of so-called Republicans in charge. It is not enough. Take what you learn here today from me, from Ed, from CJ, and take it to your elected representatives. Don't worry about Ted Cruz. Don't worry about John Cornyn. They can do nothing for you when it comes to your rights to keep and bear arms in Texas. Don't look to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. doesn't care about you, so you don't need to care about them. You take care of business here in Texas. You secure your right to keep and bear arms in Texas, and you push Texas into leadership on these issues. Do not allow, no longer settle for Texas lagging behind states like Arizona and Montana. No longer acceptable. Push Texas into leadership on this issue. Are you with me, Texans?
Yeah!
You know what it's going to take to push Texas into leadership? Every single person here. All right? God bless Texas and all for Texas.
Grisham is a 20-year Army veteran and a combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. He has dedicated his life to honoring his oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, as well as fighting to protect the Texas Constitution. He has been a major gun rights advocate for over a decade, first as a blogger and most recently in his founding of Open Carry Texas, starting after his illegal arrest for illegally carrying his AR-15 while on a Boy Scout hike with his son. It was actually a hike to earn a merit badge for his son with the scouting program. Ever the optimist, CJ took that incident and turned it into an educational opportunity to teach Texans and law enforcement about Texas gun laws. He is active in his church, his local Boy Scout troop, the Central Texas Tea Party, and holding his local governments accountable. He has been married to his beautiful wife Emily for 18 years, and they have 3 kids: Anissa, Chris, and Hannah. You might have heard him on Heidi's Raging Elephants radio show this week. He was also on Mark Levin's show. He called in and spoke with him for a few minutes last night. He's been interviewed by Michael Berry a couple times in the last year. And please welcome CJ Grisham. You're in for definitely in for a treat hearing CJ speak.
I have to get up on the tailgate. Everybody thinks I'm 10 foot tall, and I got to maintain that image. All right, so let me grab this is my speech, so I'll try to keep it to about an hour. Yeah. Actually, I don't usually like to write stuff down, so I like to speak from the heart. This is something I'm passionate about, and because I'm passionate about it, I think usually I try to just speak off the cuff. Whenever I get into politics, I'm sure my opponents will love that, because they'll be able to catch me raw. But I want to tell you a little bit of background about how I got to where I am today, and I'm so glad to have heard Heidi speak today, because she may not know it, but she's the spark of OCT, and I'm going to make that connection here. I contacted Heidi because of what she had done in League City with her resolution, and we had several conversations about how to do it, where to do it, all of that kind of stuff, and I was adamant with what was going on in 2013 that Temple, Texas was not going to take part in this gun crap that was going on at the national level. And so I went to my city council early March of last year, and I submitted this resolution. I had already emailed it to them, so they knew ahead of time what I was going to talk about when I went to the city council meeting. Went to the city council meeting, read through the resolution that I wanted, which basically said that, the city of Temple, regardless of whatever unconstitutional laws are passed at any level, will not take part in any gun control schemes. That the resources of the city of Temple will not be used in furthering these issues as well. 10 days later, my son and I went on a hike. And it's kind of interesting because I've been accused of using that hike, because obviously it gained a little bit of press. I think a couple people might have seen the YouTube video. And so here I am 10 days after trying to get the city of Temple to recognize our rights, and it was only 4 days after the mayor and the city council came to me and said, you know what, CJ, we're not going to take up this resolution because we all took an oath. And, part of that oath is to support the Constitution, so we don't need to pass this resolution. And I said, oh, you mean the same oath that President Obama took? Is that the oath you're talking about? So I was very upset. And what I told the mayor and what I told the city council is, I said, if you don't think this is an issue that Temple citizens care about, I will populate the city chambers with people who believe in our Second Amendment rights. And then 4 days later, I was arrested for lawfully carrying a rifle down the road, and everyone's like, oh, you planned that, and all that kind of stuff. Well, no, I think my son planned it, because he's the one that did the route. But, out in the country, if I really wanted to, make an issue out of it, I would have walked in downtown Temple, not out amongst the cattle and the pumas and the feral hogs and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I love being in the same place with Heidi, because where I am today sort of got me sparked with her resolution when I heard about what she had done there in League City. So, thank you for that. Not for the arrest, but I also love hearing from Dwayne Stovall. I am so disappointed that Cornyn is going to remain our state senator. I know in Open Carry, Texas, we were going to go after C3 status as a nonprofit. But then we realized there's a lot of political stuff we would not be able to do. And so we decided instead to change that to a C4 status. We're still waiting on our anal probes from the IRS before we get the official word. But it's been submitted, and the IRS did send us a letter last week saying that they've got it. And we should hear from them within 90 days, that kind of stuff. So we are looking after C4, and we really fought as an organization. I think probably 95% of Open Carry Texas members were trying to get Dwayne elected. Unfortunately, there's just too many uneducated sheep in the state and, for all around the country. And then finally, really, before I get on to my speech, I also want to recognize Edwin. I'm so glad to have heard from him. And let me tell you, he's busy right now. His organization is very busy because, let me back up a little bit more. When I got back from Afghanistan in 2012, a couple years ago, I took my family on a vacation to visit all the federal parks out in the Northwest. And so we went to Yellowstone and Arches and Yosemite and all these. And, we just wanted to get away and enjoy nature after I got home from Afghanistan. And every single state I went to, and I went through 7 different states, every single state I went to was an open carry state. I was able to proudly carry the very same pistol that I've got on me now, only I didn't have to cover it up with a shirt. And it really annoyed me that when I crossed back into my home state, the Lone Star State, the home of the Alamo, the home of Gonzales, the only state that was its own country, I had to hide my gun. And that just doesn't sit right with me at all. Because we've got people that are walking around right now that have exemptions to these laws that we don't have. And what I don't understand is, if open carry is a problem, if open carry is one of those things that's going to alarm people, why is it that the police are allowed to open carry? And I'm not. I mean, it would seem to me that it would be just as alarming on the hip of a police officer as it would on the hip of a law-abiding citizen. So, Open Carry Texas after my arrest was something that I thought, somehow I got this accidental notoriety. How can I use that to best get change in this state? And I am a very reluctant spokesperson for anything. I know I stand up here, I'm talking, and I probably sound a little bit coherent, but these kind of things make me nervous, and I never like being the center of attention. I think that's probably why my DNA didn't allow me to grow past 5'5", because I didn't want to stick out. But it's something that I'm passionate about. And what I don't want is for my sons, for my friends, for their kids, to go through what my son and I went through on the side of the road that day. I had a gun stuck to the back of my head and thrown into the hood of a police car for exercising my right lawfully to open carry a firearm. And I'm out in the middle of the country. I wasn't even bothering anybody except for some tool that decided she wanted to drive by and see me. She wasn't even from the area, and called the police about it. So there's something that's got to be done, and I'm so glad that Open Carry Texas is now, we're almost at that 12,000 member mark. We started up in July. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And we are blessed that we have people like Edwin Walker, who is out there taking care of our guys. Look, we do not look for confrontation. The 4th point of our mission statement, and this is the one that we stress the most, I don't know why we made it 4th, probably because the safe and open carry of firearms is probably the most important thing that we can accomplish, is that we want to foster a working relationship with law enforcement. That's what we do. Open carry has had a bad rap. You look on YouTube, there's a lot of people out there who will carry rifles in places that they know is just going to cause problems, and they see a police officer in the distance, and they
make a beeline straight towards that guy just to see what his reaction is going to be. That's not who we are, and that's not what we want our members to be. We don't mind law enforcement coming around and shadowing our walks and being there because that does two things. One, it shows the public that what we're doing is perfectly legal because we're not getting arrested. And two, if anybody accuses us of pointing a gun at somebody or doing something against the law, like waving a rifle around, we've got a police officer that's there, and he can say, no, that's not true. These guys aren't doing anything of the sort. Because right now, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, which is an ironic term, are actively telling their members, this gun control organization is actively telling their members to call law enforcement when they see a gun in public, whether it's legally carried or not. So, and to exclaim that they're alarmed because they're trying to use the disorderly conduct clauses against us. Now they've got a new tactic. I don't know if you've heard about this. The new tactic, because we've won on the whole disorderly conduct, for the most part. We're still having some issues with apparently some local law enforcement, a little down the road a little bit, with claiming disorderly conduct. But for the most part, we've brought the attention to that issue that where it's not really a problem. But now what Moms Demand Action are telling their members to do is to call the police and tell them that this law-abiding, peaceful individual that's walking down the street is waving his gun at people. Because that is disorderly conduct. So what happens is, how would you react? Put yourself in those officers' shoes. You just get a call. There's a man with an AR-15 or an SKS or a Mosin Nagant or whatever it may be. And dispatch calls you and says, we just got a call of a man walking down Central Avenue or whatever it is, and he's waving his gun at people. How are you going to approach that individual? Obviously, there's one of two ways to do it. You approach and you're probably outgunned, or you think you are, so your anxiety is already heightened. Or you call in a SWAT team, and you've got 20 cars surrounding this guy, all with guns on him, and he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on around here. And then they accuse him. We got a call saying you were waving your rifle around. No, it's been on my back the entire time. This has happened up in Arlington, and it just happened in San Antonio. Now, one of two things is happening. Either Moms Demand Action has changed their tactics, or law enforcement has changed their tactics. Because if they come up to us, like Edwin was talking about earlier, that you don't have to ID if you're not accused of a crime. But if they can accuse you of a crime, whether it's true or not, well, then they've got the reason to be able to run your ID through their system and run your rifle through their system and harass you and all those kinds of things. So those are the only two explanations we have. What this all paints a picture of is that our gun laws in Texas are broken. They are broken when you've got one department that interprets a statute one way, and another department that interprets it another way, and another department that interprets it another way. We've been very successful. I think 90% of all of our LEO contacts are very positive. We do have a lot of great law enforcement officers out there. Unfortunately, it only takes one to put your life in danger. It only takes one that doesn't obey the law or doesn't understand the law to put a gun to the back of your head and throw you into a police car. We don't want that. So thankfully, on Monday, there's going to be a hearing at the Capitol with the Senate Committee on something in Homeland Defense. It's Agriculture, Government Reform, and Homeland Defense, I believe. And I'm proud to say that Open Carry Texas has been invited to testify at this hearing. I've got 15 minutes to speak, and I'm going to use 14 minutes, 59 seconds, and 99 milliseconds of that time fighting for your right to keep and bear arms, for my son's right, for his son's right, and every Texan's right to keep and bear arms, to do so openly, to do so concealed, and guess what? To do so without the permission of the government. We're called Open Carry Texas, but we're fighting for constitutional carry in Texas. There are 45 states out of 50 that allow some form of open carry that's licensed or unlicensed. Of those 45, 30 states allow unlicensed open carry. You should not have to ask the government or pay a Second Amendment tax, which is the CHL license, to exercise your right to self-defense. Edwin talked about Henry up in San Antonio, I think. No, I'm sorry, I don't think he did. I was talking to him about it. We just had a guy up in San Antonio last week. You probably heard he was out walking home from a friend's house, carrying his Mosin gun on his back. It was about 8 o'clock at night, and in his own neighborhood, and the police rolled up, harassed him for a little while. He was very respectful, said, "Sir, yes, sir, no, sir, I'm not breaking any laws, sir." I'll tell you what, he impressed me. He's 19 years old. I'm 40, and I can't control myself when my rights are being violated. You've seen my videos, the bad words come out, and I don't curse. But when my rights are being violated, I get a little upset. I don't know if you noticed. This kid was very calm and relaxed. He explained everything. "I'm not breaking any laws, sir. Sir, this is perfectly legal. Sir, I'm going home. I live in this area. Sir, my name is Henry Vasich." Doing everything that he should have done so that if he was about to be let go. The officer said, "You're free to go about your way. We're just going to follow you and make sure you get home." It's fine. Well, just as that happened, one of their supervisors came on the scene. And the supervisor had a chip on his shoulder, apparently, for whatever reason. He told Henry that he says, "I am going to disarm you. Do you understand?" He said, "Sir, I'm not breaking the law." "I didn't ask you that." I said, "I'm going to disarm you. Do you understand that?" "Sir, I'm not breaking the law." Next thing you know, a taser is deployed against this kid. For 19 seconds, that officer kept his finger on that taser trigger. 19 seconds. He goes on the ground, and I'm telling you, if this were me, I would be screaming, yelling, cursing. At that point, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do, but I know I'd be very upset. Henry's on the ground. You can hear the taser going off. He says, "Sir, I'm not breaking the law. Sir, I'm not breaking the law. I'm just trying to go home." Very calm, very relaxed. What did they do? They arrested him on a bogus crime in San Antonio. There's an ordinance, an unlawful ordinance, that says you can't carry a loaded firearm within city limits. You cannot carry a loaded firearm. That's in your vehicle. That's on your person. You cannot carry a loaded firearm within city limits of San Antonio, which is in direct violation of Texas Local Government Code 229.001 Alpha 2. Yes, I got it memorized. Municipalities may not pass any gun control regulations on rifles, pistols, firearms, ammunition, any of those things. So it's an unconstitutional, unlawful ordinance. They threw this kid in jail for not doing anything wrong. So we've got problems here in Texas. We've got problems with an attorney general who has been a failure as a lieutenant general. I'm sorry, attorney general. Thank you. Jeez, good God. I'm in the military. As the attorney general, and now he's probably going to be our next governor. Not if I can help it, but he's probably going to be our next governor. And he refuses to do anything about all these different arrests that are going on, all the different ways that law enforcement around the state is interpreting statutes. In my case, I was arrested again last November on Veterans Day. I took a bunch of veterans down to the Capitol to protest all the arrests that were happening at the Capitol. And I was still fighting my first case. I hadn't gone to my second trial yet. So I didn't want to get arrested again, so I took a toy gun with me because I knew that was probably going to happen, and the last thing I wanted to do, we had people who were willing to get arrested for the cause to be able to take this to court and fight the DPS troopers. I got arrested anyway, even after I told them it was a toy gun, because they told me to leave public property, and I refused to leave public property because I have every right to be there as a citizen than anybody else does. So my charges aren't even gun-related, they're criminal trespassing onto public property. Our house at the Capitol. I really don't want to talk too long, but something I meant to start out with, it's first on my list, and it's the last thing I want to talk about, is what happened this past Wednesday. I had just let my soldiers go at about 4:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday because we were getting slow. I told them I'd close up. Why don't you guys go home, spend some time with your families? About 15 minutes later, the big voice on Fort Hood started going off. And for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like a tornado siren. They've got these microphones, these loudspeakers all over post, and anytime there's an emergency, the loudspeaker or the big voice will go off and they'll explain, what the emergency is. And we have these tests all the time. So I heard this thing go off, and at first I thought it was just a test. I couldn't really understand what it was that they were saying or anything like that. And so I went to the window because I knew it was going to go off again. And what I heard is cemented in my mind right now, and that is seek shelter, seek shelter, seek shelter. Lock doors and windows. Turn off ventilation systems, air conditioning, and heaters. Seek shelter, seek shelter. I knew something was wrong. It was either weather or it was another terrorist attack. I looked out the window, it wasn't weather. So apparently something had happened. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was I was supposed to seek shelter. We call it lockdown. Anytime that happens, all soldiers on Fort Hood know, find the nearest building, lock yourself in it. Isn't that pathetic? Isn't that pathetic that the very soldiers that are trained to take out an armed attacker are told to cower in fear and go hide behind a wooden door because we don't have guns? CHL holders can't have guns on Fort Hood, on any military post. Senior non-commissioned officers, infantry guys, all these people who are probably the safest people in the world and know how to carry firearms are disarmed on Fort Hood. It's the most helpless feeling I've ever felt as I'm calling around trying to get accountability of all my soldiers and make sure they're alive, because it doesn't tell you that loud voice, and Fort Hood's the biggest installation that we have in America. That voice doesn't tell you if it's on South Fort Hood, North Fort Hood, West Fort Hood, East Fort Hood. It doesn't say anything. And for all I know, I just locked myself in a building with the shooter. If everybody's told to go indoors and some guy just knocked out 10 people and then hid his gun and decided he was going to try and blend in and then take out more people at a processing center, and there's nothing we can do about it, I have a problem with that. I have a major problem with that. Gun-free zones do not help anybody. Right now, we've got a lot of law-abiding citizens here and a lot of people carrying firearms, and I understand that the powers that be aren't letting you have ammo and they don't trust you to carry a loaded weapon. But the fact that you have this weapon right now and nobody's being shot, does that really change your mentality when you walk into a school? I mean, do you suddenly feel like you go through this veil and, you know what, I'm at a school, I feel like I need to kill people now? When you walk into a courthouse, when you walk into a city council meeting, when you walk onto a military base, do you suddenly become a criminal with evil intent just because you crossed an imaginary line? This is what I told Capitol DPS up there. We had an event up there a few months ago, and we're open carrying outside the fence line because they don't want guns inside the fence line. And I sat there with my bullhorn and kind of made fun of the fact that standing right here, I'm a law-abiding citizen, but if I take one step this way, I'm a criminal. But yet I'm the exact same person. Heidi talked about, and I think someone else talked about, getting involved in your local government. That is where the change begins. If you're not going to your city council meetings, if you can, I understand not everybody can get up to the Capitol and listen to hearings and those kinds of things, but if you can, get up there and do that. Go to your school board meetings. Go to your city council meetings. Go to these, hold your elected officials accountable. One of the things I noticed is when Heidi was asking, who's your state senator, who's your state rep, we focus a lot on the national politics. Ladies and gentlemen, the federal government is lost to us. It is lost to us. And when Dwayne lost his primary, it was even more lost to us because the same statists are in charge of the federal government. We need to refocus. We need to refocus on Texas, and we need to refocus on our local towns and cities. And we need to build this country from the bottom up, not the top down. I hope that you guys will be able to go to the hearing on Monday, where they're going to be talking about gun rights issues and specifically open carry. I firmly believe, and if you look around the country, this is backed up by statistics, an open carry society is a more polite society. If you haven't read about the Kennesaw, Georgia thing, I know it's an anecdotal story, but it's kind of hard when when a crime is prevented or a crime doesn't happen, you can't exactly gather those statistics. But Kennesaw, Georgia is a perfect example. You got 2 carloads full of armed thugs with rifles, pistols, and ski masks that were contemplating robbing a Waffle House. They sent a scout in. They see 2 people with a 45 on their side. The scout walks out and they're getting ready to take off. They vastly outnumbered these 2 individuals. They could have easily walked in there, taken those 2 guys out, and done whatever crime they wanted to commit. But they didn't. Why? Because criminals are cowards. They're cowards. They want to live to be able to rob another person, to rob another bank, to rape another woman. But if that woman is armed, and that guy sees that his victim is armed, he's not getting into those pants. He's not going to rob that cash register. I've got signs on my house that say, trespassers will be shot, survivors will be shot again. Nobody's going to rob my house, because my son back there knows how to shoot every one of my guns. My 12-year-old daughter back there knows how to shoot all of my guns, and they know where they're at. They know how to load them, how to unload them, how to aim correctly, how to aim center mass. And then when we've got a dead corpse in our body, or in our house, because someone broke in, they know first, call Edwin Walker, and then call the police to come pick up the body. That's what we need to get to. I'm always disjointed. See, I told you I'm not a good speaker. I get nervous up here, but all right. Please support us. We are not necessarily a civil disobedience organization. Open Carry Texas was founded because we wanted to change the perception of open carry. People ask us all the time, why you walk around carrying rifles? And I tell them it's the only thing I'm allowed to open carry. I don't have a choice. And let me tell you something else about Texas law. If you get convicted of a Class B misdemeanor or higher, and it's not overturned, did you know that as a CHL holder, you lose your CHL for 5 years? Even if that Class B conviction is graffiti, even if that Class B misdemeanor is walking down the wrong side of the street, and yet you lose your gun rights over that. That's another thing that we're fighting to change. We don't have memberships. We do rely, everyone's coming up here saying, I want your money, I want your money, I want your money. Well, I want your money because I want to be able to get rid of all these barriers to our Second Amendment rights. We've got a bill right now that we have submitted that we're trying to gather support for that does 5 things. And then I'm going to shut up. Then everybody wants to go home. There's 5 things. 1, it allows for the lawful open carry of firearms, all firearms, whether it be a pistol, rifle, whatever. 2, it clarifies the disorderly conduct clause that's been abused and bastardized so much to make law-abiding citizens suddenly have to fight for almost every arrest that we've had. It's the first time that person's ever been in trouble in their life. A peaceful law-abiding citizen, when I got arrested, first time I've ever had problems with law enforcement. So that's the second thing it does. It clarifies the disorderly conduct clause. 3rd thing, it removes exemptions for a protected class of people in the state of Texas. What does that mean? That means that if an off-duty police officer can carry into a particular establishment, I can carry into a particular establishment. If an off-duty police officer can carry into a courthouse, I can carry into a courthouse. If an off-duty police officer can carry into a park, I can carry into a park. What it does is the same thing with politicians and lawyers and judges. Our bill removes every one of those exemptions. If an off-duty police officer, and I'm talking strictly off-duty, because when they're off-duty, they're citizens just like when I'm off-duty right now, I'm a citizen. If they can do it, I can do it. So it removes those exemptions. The 4th thing it does Oh my gosh. The fourth thing it does is it removes these the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission guidelines that ban the open carry of firearms into any place that has an alcohol license. That includes every single gas station in the state of Texas. You know, there are 800 businesses with who knows how many different offices. There are 800 businesses in the state of Texas that have TABC licenses, and you are not legally allowed to carry your rifle into those establishments because they might sell one beer a month. So it gets rid of that because I don't drink at all, ever. So if I'm going into a bar, why am I being disarmed? Just because people drive a car drunk, are we going to ban cars or get people from where they can't? No, we regulate that. We tell people if you are going to drink, don't drive. Why can't we tell people if you are going to drink, don't carry a gun? Because now you've got designated drivers that are trying to help their buddies out on 6th Street in Austin, and they're downtown in a dangerous place, and they can't carry because they're going to be going into a bar. That makes no sense to me. And there's a fifth thing that it does. I don't know. If you go onto our Open Carry Texas Facebook page, we uploaded the bill, and it's not even a new law. Our bill is not going to pass any new legislation. It repeals every barrier to you and I being able to exercise. Oh, I know what the fifth one was. It gets rid of the concealed handgun license. In other words, constitutional carry. You don't have to pay a $250 Second Amendment tax just to exercise your right to keep and bear arms in the state of Texas. And we're going to add the state of Texas to the other 5 states that have constitutional carry already. And we're going to start that process on Monday when we testify. And if you're able to get up there, each and every one of you, if you're able to get up there, can speak for 3 minutes. Every single one of you. I guarantee you that when they debate the immigration issue, those people that want amnesty, they're going to have 100 people in there speaking for 3 minutes. We need 100 people in there speaking for 3 minutes. Exactly. Filibuster them. Please support us, Open Carry Texas. Thank you for all the support that we have gotten. Thank you for being here and for standing up for your rights. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. An armed society is a polite society. Carry your rifles openly so that people know that just because you see a scary black weapon doesn't mean that an entire school is about to be shot up. And we've been successful at that, and we need your help to continue to be successful at that. Thank you guys all for your personal support. My son and I personally thank you. My family thanks you. And Open Carry Texas thanks you. Y'all have a blessed day.
All right, thank you, CJ. We really appreciate you coming out today. Oh, no, it wasn't too long at all.